Welcome back to FXRG. It's been a while. As you probably realize, I haven't posted a video in probably a few months at least. Um, I'll get into that in a minute, why that is. There's not really a good explanation for it other than I just haven't felt like it, to be honest. But figured I'd post an update video. It's probably going to be a pretty short one. Just talk about where I am with the bike, any changes I made since the last video, and things like that. So, see you in a minute. Alright, here's the bike as it sits at the moment. You'll probably notice really not a whole lot has changed since my last video. I did finally find a 9-spoke front mag. I actually got it on eBay. This one was a powder-coated black one, and it took me about a week and a half to strip all the powder coat off it. It was actually a big pain in the butt. So I saved a little money buying one that was black, but I wouldn't do it again. And you can see I got a brand new Shinko 777 on the front. What else? Let's see here. I didn't end up ever changing my oil lines. The issue is there's not enough space on top of the pump for the AN6 fittings to sit next to each other. I actually tried to change the oil lines one night, and I realized very quickly that that was not going to work. So the only way to really change the oil lines is to use a similar type of hose like this. But again, they haven't been leaking. I've tightened them up really well, and I've had absolutely no leaking in this area like I did before. You will notice that my breather setup has changed. So I do have these hoses now running from the breather around to the other side of the bike, where I have a small catch can here. So the breather runs into here, and then it just runs back down the same area underneath the bike, basically. So this is catching any oil or condensation that I was getting out of my breather before. And it seems with this hose extended so long like this, most of the oil is staying down there because very little oil actually makes it up into the catch can. I had to make some bracketry to get this to work, and it's kind of permanently affixed. Like, you're supposed to be able to loosen this and pull the bottom off, but it's clamped around that. So, but there is a plug on the bottom that I can undo and empty it out if I need to. So that's new. That's pretty much about it, to be honest with you. Oh no, also I did put a Mikuni style HSR 42 style carb. This is one of the clones off of Amazon. It was recommended by Joe from Ride Factory, and I've used these before. I had one of these on a Sportster a couple years ago, and it works great. So took a little time to get it kind of tuned up for this bike, and that made a gigantic increase in power. So I've been very happy with that. Kind of a shame because I put a bunch of money into hopping up the CV, but at the end of the day, I don't know, I felt like it just wasn't, I didn't have the amount of power I wanted to, or I couldn't get the amount of adjustability out of the CV. I had a hard time getting the accelerator pump to fire strong. So if you know anything about the Mikunis, you can set the accelerator pump action completely separately. And so definitely an awesome upgrade. So for now, all my leaks have been completely resolved, including whatever I had down here prior. I thought was the breather, might not have been the breather, it might have been a loose fitting over here, I'm not really sure. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. So I haven't been recording because, to be honest, I just haven't felt like it. It's a lot of work to do this stuff, and I gotta give it to anybody who does YouTube more regularly. It's actually a lot of work to be able to take videos every week and edit them and post them and all that stuff. And I didn't enjoy it. I still intend to post videos about the bike as I make changes, but they'll probably be a little bit more few and far between. Oh, also, I did rebuild the fork, and I put progressive springs in there, new bushings, new seals, 20 weight oil. That made a big difference. Now, the progressive springs for the FXR, I got them from Dennis Kirk. They're advertised as not changing the geometry of the bike, but it did drop the front like 2 inches when I installed it as they said to install it. I had to put about a 1-inch preload spacer, and that gave me my lift back out of the fork, and now it's back where it was before. So I've been riding the heck out of it. It runs strong, sounds amazing. It's a completely mean bike at this point. One of the next things I'm going to do is replace the rear suspension now that I got some upgrades in the front. I'm trying to decide what to do. Options are a little bit more limited for an FXR than, say, like a Sportster or a Dyna, which is weird because actually these are like Sportster shocks. At least that's what everyone says, that you can put Sportster shocks on an FXR and vice versa. So haven't really gotten to that yet, but that's going to be one of the next things. I'm trying to decide how much money I want to spend, because the shocks I want, are like $1,000. You get some nice Legends or nice Fox shocks or Öhlins, but I'm having a hard time justifying that amount of money. So I'm figuring out what I'm going to do there. I may try to find a different option. Thought about getting Batubo, but then you got to order them from like Italy and wait like a month, which is not a big deal. But Batubo shocks, you can get a lot more bang for the buck. For $800 or $700 from Batubo, you get a separate reservoir, compression, rebound, and preload adjustments. And for that same amount of money from Öhlins, you get just a shock with nothing but preload adjustment, which of course they all have. So I have done the drag specialty shocks on my Dyna in the past, and I didn't care for them. They were super stiff, so I'm probably not going to do that again. I think I did put the heavy duty ones on my Dyna, though. That might be why. So, but yeah, she's been sweet. Only problem I'm having now is I'm riding it more aggressively, and I am scratching up or touching the exhaust when I take sharp turns on that side, because this exhaust does hang down kind of low. So not much I can do about that. Hopefully when I put new shocks on, I can get maybe another inch or so out of it. These are 13-inch shocks, and I'm trying to find like 13.5 to 14. I don't want to lift it too much because I'm also short and I don't want to be uncomfortable. So hopefully I'm going to get a little bit more lift out of it. That'll help. The only other thing I did is I took the exhaust off and modified the bracket a little bit further. Problem I had was, I kind of got that bracket to fit because this wasn't made for this bike. And what it was doing, actually, it was pulling the collector and muffler, which are one piece. It was pulling those back a little bit, like a 1/4 of an inch. The problem was then these pipes that go into the collector were not seated all the way in, and they really need to be seated all the way in to like seal up. So I lengthened the hole in the bracket, which allowed this to slide all the way forward and actually seal up. And it actually changed the way the bike sounded too. The exhaust actually sounded much better like that. So it must have been leaking, having a little bit of an exhaust leak right there. Changed the oil, changed the transmission fluid. I put that light pole clutch system in here from Mueller or whatever it is. I found one. I don't remember if I talked about that in a video, but I found one brand new for $50. So I put that in here. That made a huge difference. That lightened up the clutch a lot. It's much more comfortable to deal with now. So I'm liking that for sure. I'm just noticing I'm still getting a little seeping from this bolt right here. It's like I can't. I've replaced this gasket twice already, and it just keeps seeping out of there. There must be like a oil that settles on that part of the head or something, but whatever. There's gonna be some leaks. So anyway, that's my update. There's not a lot to say. I did post this bike for sale on Facebook Marketplace at one point, briefly. Not that I was like hoping to sell it necessarily, but I had put it up for trade because I entertained the idea of potentially getting like a Road King, well, not a Road King, a Road Glide. I was interested in a Road Glide, like a 2007 or newer, just to have something that's a little bit more highway worthy and a little bit more comfortable for my wife. And I didn't really get many offers because there happens to be a bunch of FXRs right now for sale in my area for a lot less than I was asking Granted, they have had nothing done, whereas this thing's been gone through like crazy, but that doesn't necessarily mean anything to people, you know, so they'd probably rather buy something that's cheap and leaking than something that's been gone through like this one. But so I took it down, been riding it a lot, and I continue to fall in love with this bike. I really do. It feels so good, it runs so good, it's got so much guts. I'm really digging it. So there's not much else I want to do. I want to do the back shocks. I'm keeping my eyes open for a set of performance heads, or just a set of stock heads that I can send out to have them ported and polished and shaved and all that. I wouldn't mind doing that. I don't want to go crazy with a different cam or anything like that. But I know that this bike would benefit from a little bit higher flowing head and probably take it even to the next level. And you know, I could throw a new set of heads on here in a weekend. Now that I have all the experience with it. So yeah, that's where we're at so far. Temporarily took the windshield off because it's been like 95 to 100 degrees here in Tampa, and I need as much wind blowing on me as possible because it's incredibly hot. So I'll put that back on when it gets a little cooler, but I've been enjoying it with it off right now. But yeah, I mean, it's dirty right now, but it's a head turner. I went to a bike show at Burt's Barracuda, or it was a ride/bike night last Thursday, and I can honestly say I was the only, at least that I saw, I was the only FXR there, and there were hundreds of bikes. If there was another FXR, I didn't notice it. I mean, there might have been, but it wasn't something very obvious, at least. So I'm proud of that. I'm proud that I have a super unique bike, and it's in as good a shape as it is. So that kind of also makes me want to hang on to it and just keep loving it, since it still only has under 10,000 miles on it, which is crazy. Anyway, that's my update. I'm not going to edit this. I'm recording it. I'm on a ride, and I'm just figured I'd stop in a quiet area and shoot a little video, give a little update to everybody. Again, sorry I haven't been posting regularly, and I may not start that back up again just because of the work that it is. Yeah, so anyway, like, comment, subscribe. I try to interact with you as much as I can, even though there hasn't been much going on. I have had people commenting still, and I appreciate that a lot. So it's fun to get to talk to people who watch the videos. So enjoy this one, and we'll see you on the next one.